Israel is doing it again. While the Islamic experts and the Council of the Revolutionary Guards met at an extremely secret location, the most secret place that they could find, this is truly the most secret bunker of the Revolutionary Guards. Iran's Council of Sages met in the most secret hideout in the world in order to vote on the replacement for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader. And at that moment of vote, Israel struck and eliminated the senior expert council of the Revolutionary Guards regime. So welcome to day 4 of the Roar of the Lion War. Israel carried out a ground operation inside Iran using special forces and the Israeli Mossad. The United States Army destroyed command and control facilities of the Revolutionary Guards in Iran. And in addition, Israel is striking Tehran's airport. The Revolutionary Guards closed the Strait of Hormuz. The United States sank the Iranian Navy. It turns out that following the American attacks, and contrary to the Revolutionary Guard statements, the Strait of Hormuz is open to traffic. But unfortunately, the price of oil is still jumping by 7.5%, all because Iran is showing willingness to hit infrastructure. The assessment is that the IDF has limited over about 1,500 regime personnel of the Revolutionary Guards in Iran in strikes within 3 days alone. Qatar is explicitly threatening Iran. Putin has also entered the event, and meanwhile, in Iran, the capital city of Tehran has turned into a military base. The Revolutionary Guards are tightening their grip on Tehran. Most army forces are concentrated there. Netanyahu in the United States, he said, "We stopped Iran moments before the point of no return." The Gulf states are making up to a new reality. It appears that Saudi Arabia will attack Iran very soon. Europe is beginning to change its approach. The powers may be dragged into involvement in the Iran war. And it appears that the Revolutionary Guards in Iran are tired. They are worn down and are in survival mode. In Israel, they attribute a suicidal impulse to Iran's regime. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report, bringing you the whole truth about what's happening in Israel and everything that is hot. The Revolutionary Guards in Iran are taking blow after blow. Iran's experts council was attacked, and during the fateful decision, the fateful meeting of Iran's Council of Sages, again, while they are voting on the replacement for Ali Khamenei, they were attacked by the IDF. United States Central Command released footage from the destruction of 11 Iranian warships, and in addition, United States Central Command updated that it destroyed command and control facilities of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, as well as air defensive capabilities, missile and UAV launch sites, and military airfields. The conservative assessment stated about 1,000 that were eliminated, and some speak of even more. A significant strike was carried out earlier today on emergency bases of Iran's internal security in Tehran. Trump called on the Iranian people to seize the moment and raise up against the regime, but according to the Wall Street Journal, he's not satisfied with that and may support armed organizations in Iran. He spoke with Kurdish leaders. The newspaper also reported about this option, and Trump is open to cooperation with remnants of the regime. Iran is running out of launchers. 49 leaders were eliminated and new ones are popping up. In his first interview since the start of the campaign, the Prime Minister clarified that the decision was made on the basis of updated intelligence about accelerated fortification, and Netanyahu stated the necessary war against Iran will be short and decisive. In addition, he praised Donald Trump, rejected claims of dragging the United States into confrontation, and linked the strikes in Tehran to a future agreement with Saudi Arabia. Trump, at the press conference, "I forced Netanyahu to go to war in Iran and not the other way around." The United States president met with Friedrich Merz, at the White House and said about the war in Iran, "It's possible I'm the one who forced this on Israel." Earlier, he spoke about Iran's dwindling offensive capabilities. And testimonies from the Iranian capital show that despite the damage to bases and police stations, the regime's repression forces are setting up roadblocks and preparing for any possibility of an uprising. In Israel, they are preparing for the possibility that Riyadh will respond to the strike on the American embassy last night, which led to a fire and damage to the building. A Saudi report so far stated that Iran has launched hundreds of missiles and more than 1,000 UAVs towards the Gulf states. And with the start of the combined Israeli-US attack, countries like Bahrain, France, and Germany remained out of the picture. A strike on the British Air Force base in Cyprus led Europe's powers to declare that they are ready to join operations against the Islamic Republic. Britain is sending a destroyer. France sent fighter jets. Iran continues to bombard Arab states in the Gulf region, and Qatar's foreign ministry accused Iran of firing towards population centers, while the Kremlin sends a confusing message to Iran. Putin will speak with Iran regarding concern about the issue of strikes on oil infrastructures. And senior officials in Israel's security system say that in light of the Islamic Republic's unusual responses to strikes on its territory, intelligence officials in Israel say it appears that the Ayatollah regime has gone off the rails. In Tehran, they understand very well that Israel has come into a very offensive campaign. And what is the assessment for the ceasefire? You know? Let me know in the comments. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground, bringing you the whole truth about what's happening in Israel. And this is day 4 of the war, Roar of the Lion, that's way bigger than operation already, against the Revolutionary Guards in Iran, the head of the axis of evil in the Middle East, and all the proxies. And 1 second before we begin, I want to call on all of you to keep spreading the truth. Share our content with as many people as possible. Click the subscribe button, and let's keep bringing you the whole truth about what's happening in Israel. How? Very simple. Myself and Mati Shoshani upload our day-to-day lives in Israel every single day. So look for us on social media platforms, Yair Pinto and Mati Shoshani. And let's continue. Day 4 opened with 2 simultaneous blows in the heart of Iran. A blow to the decision-making leadership and a blow to the propaganda machine. On the first front, an attack on the assembly of experts in the building of Qom. This body is supposed to choose the next leader of the Ayatollah regime in Iran. It is made out of 88 clerics, but a security source said that at a time of the strike, not all of them were present, far fewer. In Iran, another version claimed that the building was actually empty and that no meeting took place at all because of a security protocol that forbids senior officials from gathering in one place. In simple terms, there is a gap between the versions, but both versions say the same thing. The regime is in panic mode and is afraid to put its leadership in the same room. The strike in Qom was not an isolated event. There were also reports of a strike on the council complex in Tehran and strikes around the Revolutionary Square in the capital. And if you want to understand what Day 4 looks like in this war, look at the sequence of targets: government facilities, internal security facilities, besieged bases, IRGC headquarters, and the infrastructures that keeps the country running on the axis of fear. In Israel, assessments say that within 3 days, the strikes eliminated between about 1,000 and 1,500 members of the IRGC and Iranian security forces. Some assessments speak of even higher numbers, and today, along the same line, a significant strike was carried out in Tehran against the emergency bases of internal security. These are the bases that move forces through the streets, set up checkpoints, and arrest opponents. The movement, the streets, is starting to move again. This is what's happening in Iran. And the second blow, perhaps the most symbolic of the day, Day 4. The Air Force took down the regime's broadcasting building, the Broadcasting Corporation in Tehran. Fighter jets dropped dozens of munitions and destroyed the compound. The military explained that the building was not used only for regular propaganda, but for advancing military operations under the cover of civilian means and assets. And the IDF spokesperson in Persian addressed civilians in Iran and called the site the beating heart of the machine of lies and repression. This is not just another target. This is an attempt to cut the pipeline that pumps lies towards and fear inward. And on the ground, alongside the bombings, our report keeps returning again and again across this region, an Israeli ground operation in Iraq by the Mossad and the Special Forces. This is still not officially confirmed in Israel, but it fits the pattern, a multi-layered war, air, intelligence, cyber, and according to the reports, boots on the ground as well. And alongside all of this, Tehran itself is changing before our eyes. There are testimonies from the capital describing a city that has turned into a military base, checkpoints at the end of almost every street, guards with covered faces, armed with combat weapons, mosques and schools turning into new bases for the army and the besieged, phone searches, random stops, and the communication blackout that makes it hard for citizens to connect to the network. The goal is clear: block organization, prevent an uprising from spreading, and restore control through fear. While Israel strikes at the heart of the regime, the Americans are expanding deeper. U.S. Central Command announced that it destroyed the IRGC command and control capabilities, missile and also drone launch sites, and military airfields. These are not message strikes. These are strikes that dismantle a system, radars, control, launching, and air support. When the Americans also put bunker-busting munitions on the table, the talk in the arena turns into names. B-2 bombers, the JBU-57 bunker buster bombs, an F-22 escort, and an electronic warfare envelope. This is an industrial strike machine coming mainly at night, hunting underground targets. And on the Iranian side, Day 4 is also a day of trying to influence the entire region. Iran opened a front against the Gulf states, and according to a Saudi report, since the fighting began, Iran has launched 450 missiles and 1,140 drones towards the Gulf states. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Bahrain, all inside the circle. Even Oman, which thought it would remain a protected mediator, found itself under attack. In Qatar, an unusual statement was issued. We did not receive advance warning. The attacks are not limited to military facilities, and this will not pass without a response. Qatar also claimed it thwarted an attack on Hamad International Airport, and at the same time, the Kremlin issued a confusing message. Putin will speak with Iran about concerns over strikes on oil infrastructure, and when Moscow enters the conversation about infrastructure, it's a sign that the economy is starting to run the war no less than the missiles. And here comes the economic military block of the day number 4. I'm talking about the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC announced a closure and threatened to strike any ship. That lit up the markets and set the world into shock. But later, in a quote attributed to United States Central Command, it was claimed that the Strait of Hormuz is open to traffic, contrary to the IRGC's statement. This is an important point. There is a gap between a declaration and control on the ground. Iran is trying to create an effect, and the United States is trying to signal we control the route. And still, the economic effect remains. The price of oil is jumping by 7.5% because of a willingness to strike infrastructure. That is exactly what happens when the energy markets smells instability. Even if the route is open, insurance, shipping, and fear make everything more expensive. In the political arena, Day 4 produces another shift. Europe is beginning to change its approach. At first, Britain, France, and Germany tried to stay out of the picture. Then came the precedent, an attack towards the British Air Force base at Akrotiri in Cyprus, European territory. After that, Britain announced it is sending HMS Dragon, an air defensive destroyer, and also helicopters with anti-drone capabilities. There were also reports about the possibility of sending another destroyer, HMS Duncan. France is planning to send anti-missile and anti-drone systems to Cyprus and fighter jets to patrol around a French base in Qatar. Greece sent a ship and also a fighter jets. In simple terms, Europe is not rushing in, it is being dragged in. And in the same breath, you have to watch how Trump speaks. He said publicly that he was not dragged after Israel, but the opposite, that he pushed Israel to act because he felt Iran was about to strike first. He repeated the claim that negotiations with the crazies, as he called them, led him to the conclusion that action had to be taken now. And he added 2 data points that signal his direction. He claims that Iran is running out of launchers and that 49 senior leaders were eliminated and new ones are popping up. He leaves an opening to work with some of the friends who are still left in this regime, if that serves an American interest. This is hammer diplomacy, a hard blow and then a half-open door for whoever remains standing. There's another element in Trump's talk that is very important. He called on the Iranian people to seize the moment, and at the same time, it was reported that he spoke with Kurdish leaders and is considering support for armed groups inside Iran. This is still not an operational decision, but the very decision changes the rules of the game. If the next stage is a ground war through local forces, this is no longer only an air war. And now, before we continue, one moment that brings us back here, to the ground, to what is happening in Israel, while all of this is exploding in the Middle East. The war has begun, and rockets are being fired, and sirens echo across Israel once again. The first people on the ground are the volunteers of Magen David Adom. Right now, as explosions are heard, as families run to shelters, as chaos unfolds, Magen David Adom medics are already there. Before the police, before the army, before anyone else, they are treating the wounded, stabilizing the injured, evacuating families under fire, saving lives in real time. They do not wait for it to be safe. They move towards danger because that's who they are. But responding to a war as it happens takes more than that, just courage. It takes ambulances racing through rocket fire, armored emergency vehicles, protective gear, advanced trauma equipment, fully trained teams ready to deploy at a moment's notice, day and night. And that's where you and I come in. Our support right now ensures that they can keep responding to every siren, every impact, every emergency. So go to savelifeisrael.com. Help Magen David Adom stay strong, stay fast, stay ready. Because when seconds are determining life or death, they are the first one underway. And now, this is the option to stand with him. So go to savelifeisrael.com. Again, that's savelifeisrael.com. Make a donation to Magen David Adom. And in Israel, right here, alongside the strikes that are happening deep inside Iran, alerts continue about aerial intrusions and launches, drones and missiles. This campaign is no longer one barrage at night. It is continuous attrition of the home front, us, the Israeli civilians. Alerts, interceptions, falling fragments, localized damage, and then a return to a tense routine. And at the same time, in the north, the Lebanese arena has already entered the picture. The IDF announced that forces of Division 91 and Division 210 are deployed in forward defensive positions along the border and in the security zone in southern Lebanon and in Syria. This is with reinforced defensive and offensive components. This is happening to prevent surprise and to leave the IDF full freedom of action against Iran without the North stealing the war. And now, back to the heart of day 4. The balance of power is changing. The Gulf states are waking up to a new reality. They thought that they had a quiet agreement with Iran. not to attack them if they did not allow attacks from their territory. And then Iran opened fire on all of them. The meaning is that these states must choose a side, and that connects to a report in Israel. A senior Israeli official says that Saudi Arabia is expected to strike Iran very soon, especially after the attack on the United States Embassy in Riyadh, which caused a fire and also damage. This is a dramatic point. If Saudi Arabia enters the war, and it moves to completely a different regional level. And along that same axis, you also see American states on the ground, evacuation orders for non-essential personnel at embassies, a temporary closure of an embassy in Kuwait, instructions to leave various countries, and internal discussion in the United States about a possible shortage in the interception systems like THAAD and Patriot for protecting bases and embassies. That signals there is also a war on defense, not only on offense. And on the Israeli side, Prime Minister Netanyahu, in his first interview since the start of the campaign, explains the decision through intelligence on accurate fortifications and deep bunkers. He says that the window was about to close and that this is an operation meant to remove an existential threat quickly and decisively. He also ties the strikes in Tehran to the possibility of a future agreement with Saudi Arabia. In his words, the road to Riyadh goes through Tehran. This is a statement trying to present Day 4 not only as a day of strikes, but as a day of reorganizing of the Middle East. And on the other end of the map, inside Iran, the Revolutionary Guards look tired and worn down. There are reports of a survival mode and that the regime threw its people into the streets, turning every street in Tehran into a control post. This is a reaction that comes when the security apparatus is hit. When bases are bombed, regimes do not disappear. They pull inward, intensify the repression, and cling to the capital. So this day, day number 4, Israel hits the embassy, the assembly experts in Qom, and the propaganda infrastructure in Tehran. The United States dismantles command, air defensive systems, launch capabilities, and military airfield. Iran tries to set the Gulf on fire, frighten the energy markets, and drag Europe inside. And the entire region aligns around one question. Is this heading towards an escalation that will require more weeks? Or is it now that we are approaching a breaking point of the regime? Day 4 ends with one feeling. The campaign is not scattering, it is sharpening. And the question that leads to the next report, after they hit the head, the propaganda, and Iran's regional capability, where will the next counterstrike land? And what will it take to get dismantling this next threat by Israel? So we will keep bringing you the whole truth about what's happening now in Israel, in Iran, in the Middle East. So we ask you to help us share it by following this YouTube channel, hitting the subscribe button on TBN Israel YouTube channel. Keep spreading the truth. And before we continue, I want to broadcast to the people an interview that we did just one moment before this war started with the heroes of Magen David Adom, who right now are driving from one Iranian missile, an impact zone in Israel, into another. They are rushing under fire to save lives as volunteers without distinction of religion. You have Jews volunteers, Muslim volunteers, and Christian volunteers together. So here's a very interesting interview that explains why all of Israel are responsible for one another.